That's our second story, the gruesome murder of a Bengaluru woman. And I'm going to give you all the details. Unfortunately, whenever this piece of news comes, we're just so occupied with what we really want to hear and see. But there are other things also which are there in the murder, and you've heard it and seen it first here with the South Indian. The murder of a 29-year-old woman in the IT hub of India over the weekend in Bengaluru is yet another addition to what has now become an urban Indian criminal phenomenon. The sheer cruelty of the way in which the murder was committed has sent shockwaves across India and raises several questions about the safety of women and the rage which has been manifested within the perpetrator. Take a look at what I will call the timeline and details of the murder on your screens right now. Mahalakshmi's body was found cut into over 40 pieces and stored inside a refrigerator in a rented apartment in Bengaluru's Vyalikaval. Mahalakshmi worked as a team leader in Fashion Factory, a costume outlet in Malleswaram, and lived alone on the first floor of her building. The deceased, Mahalakshmi, hailed from Nepal and was one amongst 3 children of Meena Rana and Charan Singh, who traced their roots back to Tikapur in Nepal and shifted to Bengaluru 35 years ago. Mahalakshmi's phone was switched off starting 2nd September and her body was discovered 20 days later. Her mother told the police that there was a foul smell emanating from her daughter's apartment a day before the murder was discovered. Mahalakshmi was married to Hemant Das, a resident of Nelamangala who runs a mobile phone accessory store. The couple was estranged and began living separately in October 2023. Meena Rana, that is Mahalakshmi's mother, claimed that a neighbor of Mahalakshmi had informed them about the foul smell. As a result, the mother, along with her daughter and son-in-law, visited Mahalakshmi's flat the next day and they were shocked at the sight. Mahalakshmi's house was locked. When the victim's mother entered the apartment, she found the flat ransacked, with Mahalakshmi's possessions thrown in all directions. She noticed some maggots near the refrigerator and traces of bloodstains as well. Upon opening the refrigerator, the mother discovered the dismembered body of her daughter. 8 teams have been formed to probe the murder, even as the National Commission for Women has directed the state police to submit a detailed report within 3 days. Experts are saying that the case is unusually complex. The victim's body, which was dismembered, makes it difficult to ascertain the exact timing of the first injury leading to death. Identifying the first injury is very crucial, as it helps determine the weapon which is used in the crime. Now, Bengaluru Police Commissioner Dayananda has assured the public that due diligence shall be done in nabbing the culprit. Listen in.
We are investigating the case from all angles and more or less the culprit who is or the prime suspect who is likely to have committed this ghastly offence, he is identified. The only thing is we are yet to apprehend him, in the sense we have not yet caught him. So as and when the person is caught and further his interrogation is done, then we will be able to provide further details regarding that. I already told that the prime suspect has already been identified. We have to physically arrest him. Only then we will know further details. At this stage, if I tell anything, it will be to the benefit of the accused, not to the public. So I refrain from giving any further details.
Home Minister of Karnataka, G. Parameshwara, also hinted that the culprit may fall into the police's net very soon and is apparently holed up in West Bengal.
No, police have already collected a lot of information, lot of clues, and one individual has also been they say he's the one, but unless we collect more information, we can't really say. He's from West Bengal, they say. We'll say as early as possible we'll secure. No, people who are suspects, they bring them to police, they bring them and inquire them. If it is, if somebody accepts, yes, I am the one who did it, then they will take him to custody. Now we have already, taking lot of precautions, lot of measures for women's safety in Bangalore. In fact, that Nirbhaya program is ongoing, and we are doing several things. We are taking so many steps. Of course, I don't want to reveal all that now. But definitely we are very careful about it, and we take lot of precautions.
We'll try and understand this case first from the point of view of pure news, and for that Mohammad Wajiullah, my colleague, is joining me to tell me what the latest is going on. Of course, later by Dr. Vijay Mehtri, who's consultant psychiatrist from Bangalore. But first up, Mohammad Wajiullah, tell me what is going on, what is the latest that you're picking up on the ground, Waji?
Well, the police is still looking for the suspect that Parmeshwar has mentioned. It is believed that he's somewhere at the West Bengal Odisha border. There are also talks that he's somewhere trying to cross to the other country. But we are still yet to ascertain who the killer is. The police has a suspect on one person, but as per the family account, we believe to have 4 people who they suspect in this entire murder. Now, what we also know is that the family is going through a bad time, and they are on their way to Rameshwaram because they feel they are very haunted by the entire incident. In fact, there is a video that we have in our possession, but it is so gory that we cannot show our viewers, where we see the mother who enters to see the spot where the body is, or the fridge where the body is, and she comes out running in shock and screaming. So that video clearly gives us an idea about the brutality of this murder. But as of now, the police is still trying to stitch together the call data records, the CCTV cameras, and trying to zero in on the person who they believe is involved in this, because mind you, it has been more than a few days since the body was in the fridge, so they have to still piece together whether the person is in the country or has left the country in the meantime. So all these things are being looked up by the police, but as of now, what we only know is that Mahalakshmi's family is feeling horrified, and they are on their way to Rameshwaram to do a puja for the last rite of their daughter Mahalakshmi.
Thank you so much, Wajiullah, for joining us on the broadcast. And now Dr. Vijay Mehtri, who's a psychiatrist. Let me welcome you, Mr. Dr. Mehtri. My question is, Shraddha Walker, and then several cases. This particular case of Mahalakshmi, crimes of passion maybe. I will not jump to conclusion. But what is with the brutality, doctor? I mean, cutting them into several pieces, it's like rage, it's like anger, it's like someone trying to completely obliterate my very identification, Dr. Mehtri.
Right. So it's a very horrendous kind of crime, very gruesome, extremely cruel kind of crime. Any crime in general is bad, but murdering someone, subsequently resorting to such kind of things, is definitely extremely cruel, inhumane, and very gruesome. So when we talk about crime per se, any crime, be it even murder, there are a lot of factors. There is no one particular single reason where we can exactly pinpoint and say why a crime was committed. There are certain sociological factors, external factors, there could be certain psychological factors, and definitely to some extent biological factors. And at the same point of time, not necessary that any person who commits crime or murder has got some psychiatric issues. There have been instances where a person has been completely fine, no psychopathology, still he or she might go on to commit crime. Particularly when such comes to such kind of very heinous, very gruesome mode of
there
killing
are,
someone.
I mean, doctor, I'm sorry to interject here. Of course, not everyone has a kind of a, psychological trauma or anything. I'm not getting into that. I'm saying of late one finds that in these cases, young, old, I don't even want to go into that. This chopping into pieces and putting it like it is something, it's not a human being. Don't you think that the level of being macabre, of being cruel has increased multifold? I mean, I'm not saying there were no crimes like this before. We know suitcase crimes. But of late, we've seen this very often. In Delhi, there were 2 cases where the lover or the partner was chopped into multiple pieces and thrown in a park, in a polythene bag. It's a human being.
Right. Okay. So our society is a very dynamic structure. With the change in society, crimes, other incidents also keeps on changing. Now, the reason why it has to be so brutal is there could be many reasons. One thing, it could just be simply to cover the crime. The person might not be able to hide his crime, and he might think that this is the best possible situation to not get caught. The other thing is that when you think about certain psychiatric issues or psychological factors, one is definitely rage. So maybe
Yeah.
under the influence of rage, the rage could be such to such an extent that he or she might go on to commit a crime, including a murder. Despite killing the person, the rage might still continue. The rage might still continue, and then they might go on to show their rage even on the when the person is no more living. So that could be one thing. Apart from that, inherently there is a possibility where sometimes certain substances, like let's say alcohol or any other kind of substance, might also be at play, which tends to reduce the level of inhibition of a person, and then they might do things which usually they don't do. Now, the other thing is that there is also a possibility where we talk about certain personality issues. Some personalities, some people, they inherently lack remorse. They have a tendency to take too much of risk. They don't have
Okay.
absolutely no regard for someone's suffering, pain, or emotions. So, if a person is having very less regard for some other person's life, lack of remorse, lack of regard, rage, other factors. So, these are some of the psychological factors which might determine the kind of murder which a person commits and subsequently how he or
All
she
right.
deals with the aftermath of that.
Very, very unfortunate though, because we have seen these
Yeah,
copycat
unfortunately.
murders of cruelty and shoving the body into a fridge or into a suitcase and throwing it all over like it is just, nothing, but it's a human being, it's a soul. And I think that this is increasing and it's very unfortunate, but it's for the law and order and doctors like you, who perhaps can educate people on what this means when you lack complete remorse. Dr. Vijay Maitri, thank you very much for joining us on this broadcast and bringing our viewers up to speed as to who does this.